Next up, we have Zachary Goodrich.
Hello, honored and esteemed city council members. I just wanted to talk about the open Ward 6 seat. I heard that the mayor was thinking about putting in, what's the word I'm looking for? A loser for that position. And I think that that is not a good idea. It's fundamentally undemocratic. I want to kind of put in perspective what the 2019 race did. Correct, Karen has won, she was there for like 20 years. In 2015, when she won her election unopposed, the voter turnout, specifically for those who voted for the ward, was 1%. In 2011, when she ran against, I don't remember his name, somebody insignificant, and she won by like 95% of the vote, the voter turnout for the people that voted for her race was 3%. In 2019, when she lost to Jenn Carrillo, regardless of what you think of Jenn Carrillo, the voter turnout was 14.83%, specifically for the ward race. And the total voter turnout for that entire ward was 14.84%. So a lot of the ward actually did get to decide. And you're correct, it was still very close by 42 votes. But as some wise character that Vin Diesel once played said, doesn't matter whether you lose by an inch or a mile, losing is losing. You clearly have a majority, and you can pick somebody that's not like one of the mayor's personal friends that helped out on his campaign, probably contributed to it, et cetera, et cetera. It just seems like abject nepotism. I think the times of Karen Schmidt should be over, maybe forever. And I would like to remind the mayor that back when he lost his appointment race, Karen Schmidt was one of the people that voted against you, in case you forgot. And then you had to go run. So pick one of the people that actually did the literal minimum amount of work of putting the application in and actually meeting with you. Pick one of those people. Pick the person that you have the majority of. And I just want to end it by saying Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang Clan is forever. Wu-Tang is for the children. Wu-Tang stands for witty, unpredictable talent and natural game. This is for the nation of the gods and the earth, and every devil ain't pale. Thank you. I cede my time.
Thank you, Zach. Next.
Next up, we have Luisa Gomez.
Good evening, council members and mayor. If I can have a moment, I have a friend that has a few handouts that I would like to share with you all. It's some statistics that are directly drawn from community health needs assessment, which I have the honor of working.
Sorry,
yes.
Excuse me. Could you pass them to the clerk? Yes.
Okay. Anyways, this is data directly drawn from the Community Health Needs Assessment from 2019. I'm currently the Health Promotion Manager at the McLean County Health Department, and one of my duties is to be on the steering committee of this when we collect data. In this data that I highlighted, it talks about the racial disparities in 61701. I'm not going to elaborate on that a lot. The data speaks for itself, and then later on I will explain to you why that is relevant. So I'd like to say, first off, thank you for letting me have this opportunity. I want to talk about my process of going through this candidacy and submitting my application. I submitted my application before the deadline as requested. I was not contacted to even be known if my information had been received until my name was printed in the pantograph. To me, I found that to be highly unprofessional, because usually you have a conversation with people to let them know, first and foremost, I received your information before you publicly make it aware. But you know what? I moved on and I progressed. I had an interview with the mayor. I felt like it went very well. I explained myself for Ward 6. I explained who I am. I did all of that. I went on vacation. When I was on vacation, I was asked to complete an affidavit that I could hold this position. I took time away from my family to go to UPS, to get it notarized, to get it scanned, and to get it emailed in. I did every single step, but how can you win a race when the rules change? How can you win when the goalpost is constantly moved? We put in our applications at the desired deadline that was set for us, but then we were told it was extended for others. Now we're told that someone else who did not follow the procedures is being considered. And to me that's, how do you win? But I'm gonna be really quick. Right now, I want to talk about what I do. Last night, I had a situation where two 11-year-old girls decided to come into my house and steal belongings from my daughter. They snuck in through the dining room window. At 12:30 last night, I ran barefoot in sweatpants and a tank top to find those little girls. I didn't call the police. I went to their mother's house and I talked to them. And you know what we did? We came up with a plan of talking about how those things could be detrimental, how they could have ended up in the system, how things could have went so wrong. And you know what? My neighbor is Nikita Richards, and we've been talking about how we can come together in that neighborhood to be able to meet the needs of these girls. When I think of a person that is a city council member, I think about that. I don't want someone sitting up there who makes decisions, who doesn't understand that. I want someone who's going to run in the streets barefoot at night to be able to talk to little girls. Thank you for your time. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Lisa.
Next up, we have Coretta Jackson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The last time I was here, I spoke with you all. I was a disgruntled resident and we were discussing the flood. I spoke with you and we spoke specifically numbers because we have lots of business savvy people on the council who understand numbers and they resonate. I am grateful that the discussion around the floods have made some sort of forward progress. You all will be receiving my application for assistance tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. But what I want to kind of speak about is the fact that when I spoke to you before, I called the West Side, particularly Ward 6 and 7, the redheaded stepchild of the city of Bloomington. No one has yet to correct me, and the actions of the council is kind of driving the nail in the coffin of that statement. And I say that because the current state of the council is not representative of Bloomington. I am going to point out that there's an empty seat right there. It's been an empty seat for quite some time, but there have been decisions made about infrastructure. There have been decisions made about flood relief. There have been votes made about numerous things, including Mr. Gleese's race, without representation of Ward 6. I don't know how ethically and morally you all feel about that, about making decisions. Everybody screams the theme of we're making decisions to better the city of Bloomington as a whole. Right now, Ward 6 is not a part of our city because that seat is empty. There have been many decisions made in this room over the past several weeks that do not include the voices of the people of Ward 6. They do not include those people. Again, it's a redheaded stepchild, the forgotten about part of the city. So in honor of Mercury's retrograde, I'm going to pretend to be the city council's bitter ex, and I'm going to bring up some old stuff. I'm going to bring up old stuff like the big empty lot on Market Street that I sit on my porch and look at every morning, where my neighbors still think we're going to get a grocery store where we can get fresh produce that's not once a week from the Veggie Oasis or from a food bank with an expiration date 6 months prior to someone receiving the food. We want and we need that grocery store. That has not been discussed in, I can't even remember the last meeting I went to. It probably was nearly a year ago. The residents of Ward 7 deserve to know, are we gonna move forward with the plan? Are we gonna be sitting and looking at an empty, ugly lot that needs mowing very frequently on our beautiful gateway to the city? There's so many things that are left out of the West Side. And I have 10 seconds to have you all utilize Mercury's retrograde. Bad things are happening. Old things are being brought up. It's a time for reflection. So reflect on the decisions that you're making right now without representation of a big sector of your city.
Thank you, Coretta. Next.
All right, next up, we have Janae Clark, and she should be online.
Hi, hello and happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm speaking today regarding the appointment of the Ward 6 seat. And I just want to point out that this isn't about who the mayor likes or who the council likes or who this appointment makes most comfortable. What this appointment should be about is continuing with what the voters democratically elected. And this is what I have promised to do. I just want to invite every member of this council to contact me and let's talk about it. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Janae.
Next up online, we have Olivia Butt.
Good evening. My name is Olivia Butt, and I would like to relay my concerns tonight around two different issues. First and foremost, as an alum and current professor at Illinois State University, I implore you to take action to hold the Bloomington Police Department accountable for the mishandling of the Jelani Day case. As a part of the ISU community, I attended Jelani's memorial service at ISU last week, and we listened to the pleas of his mother, Carmen Bolden Day, a mother who to this day has no idea what happened to her son. As the community grieves, it is up to you to hold the Bloomington Police Department accountable for their inaction and to push them to utilize their resources to find out what happened to Jelani. In a broader sense, how can we continually say that the Bloomington Normal community is a safe place to live when Black and brown people are 6 times more likely to get pulled over and when a young Black graduate student can go missing without any leads or suspects? I find it hard to explain to my students of color that Bloomington Normal and its surrounding towns and areas are a safe place for them to live, work, and go to school. While I understand that it is not on you all as a council, I don't believe that you have exhausted your resources and power to help the Day family. Secondly, I would like to address the filling of the Ward 6 seat. I find it odd that the mayor is interested in finding the, quote, broadest amount of consensus among council, Ward 6 residents, and the community, unquote, when the seat isn't representing anyone on the council or in any other ward. I was recently notified that Mayor Mwilambwe was considering filling the seat with Karen Schmidt, which is outrageous, considering not only did she lose the last election, but she was not amongst the 11 who applied to fill the seat once Carrillo vacated. I'm honestly shocked that the mayor would use his power to put forward a candidate and a friend of his for this seat when there were so many other options. As the mayor lives in Ward 3, I'm not sure how he would know what is the best fit for Ward 6, but nominating someone who didn't even run for the vacancy is certainly an overreach of power. Finally, but something that I find very important and telling, is that Ward 6 is a ward that Mboka actually lost in the last election. Of the 5 precincts in Ward 6, 2 went to Straza, 2 went to Gunderson, and 1 to Mwilambwe, which he won by 1 vote. So while there are a variety of reasons that Mboka shouldn't be speaking on behalf of the ward, this in particular stands out to me. I hope to hear other council folks speaking out against this overreach of power and seeing someone who applied for the position get this spot. I noticed that there were 2 people, one in person and one over the phone, who applied for this position here tonight, and it would be great to see them be able to take steps to filling that vacancy for Ward 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Next.
Next, also online, we have Matthew Tosco.
Yeah, my name is Matt Tosco, and I'd like to speak to the Ward 6 appointment process. The people of Ward 6 freely and fairly made their electoral choice in 2019. The vacancy is not because of any type of democratic process, a recall or whatnot. Therefore, the vacancy should, as seamlessly as possible, continue the exact type of representation that the people of Ward 6 elected in the last election. That goes for ideology, that goes for style and methods. You should pick from the field of applicants the applicant who most seamlessly will continue that representation through the end of the term in 2023. Now, the only collaboration, the only consensus that should be going on between members of the council and the mayor who are not from Ward 6 should be discussions about who best fits that role. Not your own bias, not your own agenda, not your own political stances or likes or whatever. No, your one job is to seamlessly continue the representation that Ward 6 elected in 2019. Now, some people will say, by electing the mayor, you give the mayor the right to use his mayoral powers however he wants. And I say that there's a line that you don't cross there. Those powers must be used responsibly and appropriately. And the only way to do that in this case is to, as seamlessly as possible, continue the representation that Ward 6 elected in 2019. None of you other council members are from Ward 6. The mayor's not from Ward 6. People of Ward 6 will have a chance to elect different representation in 2023. Anyway, this whole process and what I've seen is incredibly concerning. It seems like an usurpation of the will of the voters by an inner cabal of people with their own ideas about who should represent that ward, and that's just not right. Thank you.